Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm glad that you enjoyed me doing my best work in a bathrobe, as I always do when I'm not in front of the camera actually, but now we're just changing things around. I love to be able to just be cozy, and especially just feels so appropriate for the energy of the weeks that we've been having, the days that we've been having, and what I've been hearing from you guys independently in the comment section and DMs, and just connecting with you to feel a little bit more comfortable and grounded and being realistic with where you're at and where you can save any bit of energy, which is going to be important for this first week of December. I love when an energy or Monday starts on the first of the month. It's just like chef's kiss, so good for organization and feeling grounded. And so we're going right into Monday with gate 9, gate of focus, and how we feel focused and disoriented and how to not get ourselves unmucked. So the do's and don'ts of the week ahead, starting with Monday, December 1st. Last little disclaimer housekeeping is that if you like what I do here and you feel called to, please subscribe to my channel and share it with a couple friends that you also want to be in the know for the week ahead. And thank you to you guys who have shared my channel already and also joined the Patreon tier, the $5 just because Patreon tier, and to my Patreon folks who make this channel possible so that I'm able to continue to make more videos and content for you guys. So without further ado, let's get into the notes that I wrote for Monday while I start to do my makeup. And so I just want to read to you the couple sentences that I wrote when I was looking at the transits, specifically our Sagittarius Venus in gate 34 and our Sun, Sagittarius Sun in gate 9 in human design. And so on Monday, your focus will be unmatched if you are strong in your convictions and telling people no. You'll start to doubt yourself more when you constantly divide your attention, creating so many distractions. How close are you to achieving even the smallest of goals, and what does victory actually mean to you? So important for Monday, especially because, as I mentioned last week, that we're playing a little bit of catch up with in terms of like actually assessing what true success means to us. And when we're looking at victory and what an accomplished end of 2025, no matter what has happened in months prior, what can we do to just finally close this year on a high note in whatever way, whatever that means to us, even if it just means that you're cleaning out one drawer in your basement of old papers that have gotten stacked up, or if you're able to write off a monetary goal or a business goal or an education goal, something that just helps you feel like you've actually could say, like, if I at least did that one thing and closed out the year strong, I actually would feel really accomplished and understanding that I actually did get more accomplished than I thought that I did. But also allowing yourself to see what is a small victory or a smaller win that, even though it doesn't seem that big in the grand scheme of things, it actually helps me to feel a little bit more accomplished and getting the motivation to continue to move forward in a way that feels good, aligned, and energetically exciting moving into the new year, or the first day of a new year. And especially because it's December, or the first day of a new month, especially because it's December 1st and we're looking at the last 31 days of the year. What is it that you want to make like your top 3 goals or things that you can accomplish before the year is over, and how can that be a way that you can actually set yourself up for success for the 2026, the start of the new year, and feeling like you're a lot more grounded in what feels possible. And that's also helpful, really focusing on that before we go into Tuesday, which is obviously December 2nd, and really looking at what can we do to keep ourselves motivated. Now, what's interesting is that we have a Taurus moon today, but it's in its exalted placement, which I also really love. And the couple notes that I wrote here are: what aha moments did you notice today? What micro goal or new habit felt good to achieve? Because if on Monday we are focusing on our goals and not diverting ourselves in 1800 directions and picking the top 2 to 3 things that we want to do, 3 to 5 things, whatever number feels comfortable before the end of the year, Tuesday's the day to actually start chipping away at it. So like Monday is kind of just like getting the engine started to full speed ahead, and not feeling like you have to force yourself to do anything you don't want to do, or that feels just like too overtaxing for your body, because that's what really Tuesday is for. And we also have our Mars in gate 26. Our Sun is in gate 9 still. It's the last day of the gate 9 transit. How can you reward yourself for a job well done in this moment? I also put a star next to the couple notes that I wrote when I was looking at the transits. How can you allow yourself to enjoy the process and not just the end result. If there's stickers that you have, like I have in my office downstairs, these like little star stickers that I got from Michael's craft store, and I wrote out like my certain goals that I had for this year, and I broke it down into increments of 10, and every time I hit another 10 level or level 10, for my own like way that I broke down my goal, I would give myself a sticker just to see that visual indicator and the way that I'm chipping down or away at the goal or towards my goal on like in a physical tangible way was super helpful for me to feel like, okay, I know that I'm making moves, and in those moments that I feel impatient, because we always do, I know that I'm actually able to reward myself, treat myself, see that like what I'm doing isn't for nothing. Even in the days that we all feel like we're speaking out into the void, or like it's harder for people to hear us, we hear us, and the quality of people that we connect with really does build the quantity over time. And I've built my business on that. I say that all the time when I'm helping other people and mentoring them to build their businesses too. That's really important for us to focus on this Tuesday. How can you celebrate the micro goals, and how can you not let yourself get like run away with the impatience or overindulgence, especially on a Mars day that has a Taurus moon involved, is also going to be like super indulgent. So just making sure that like anything that you do, if you are indulging, is in the efforts of like celebrating yourself but not overdoing it where you're putting yourself out. Now, Wednesday is the day of communication, as those of you who have been with me for a moment here know. And we're also in this energy of just kind of figuring out like, what do we need to communicate? How can we communicate more effectively? How can we pick and choose our words wisely instead of just flying off the handle? Also, coming down from that impatience. And a lot of this energy, because we have a gate 5 sun transit today, is maintaining your own stride. Especially when I was talking about woman code last week, that is also in the show notes again. You don't if you aren't luteal or menstruating, today is a good day to start a new habit for the next 6 days. So what's a little micro habit or a micro challenge that you can create for yourself? Or say you want to make, content is something that you want to build or start being a content creator for 2026. How can you do a bunch of content outlines one day, and then how can you start to batch film and do a bunch of filming for the week ahead, so that you have all this content going into 2026 where you're not having to film and do all this stuff as you're trying to celebrate the holidays, or, adjust into the new year, maybe dealing with a little bit of seasonal depression come January. And you can really hit the ground running by posting videos that during this week you've already filmed, you've already edited in some way, shape, or form. A couple of the other notes too that I'll read here as well. Once you set a new goal, notice who comes up against it, who is supportive, and it'll tell you how much respect someone has for themselves or not. So when you're starting something new, it's really important that you don't rush to tell somebody else when you're excited. And I know that feels counterintuitive, but trust me, I've learned this the hard way, because a lot of people can't see your vision, especially if you're doing something that most people around you haven't done before. No one that's going to be criticizing you is ever doing more than you anyway. However, they can feel a little bit of competition, like, oh my gosh, this person's finally seeing themselves. How can I, add a little bit of a wrench to their plan, even if they're not consciously aware of it? It's just knowing that, unfortunately, some people that are closest to us can end up being our biggest ops, because they don't see their own lack of self-worth, their own lack of self-respect. And just because they don't respect themselves doesn't mean that they have to disrespect you by talking down your goals. So now is a really good time, and usually always, but just especially in the wake of this Mercury retrograde, less is more, and sharing on a need to know basis is going to be so important. So do focus on your micro goals. Understand that if it's people that you've known for a long time, you really trust, and you can trust them, maybe only 1 or 2 people outside of your spouses, your partners, really have to know exactly what's going on. But anyone else than that, it should just be kept on the down low. Like, not everybody has to know your business when it's in the beginning stages, and you don't want to be able, especially going into Jupiter Day, Thursday, you don't want to be riding the wave of other people's excitement when you should be excited enough to start taking action, rather than trying to get other people to see the excitement before you've actually taken action on your goal. So when we're going into a Jupiter day, which can be more of an emotional day, especially as our Jupiter is in Cancer, we're really also feeling sensitive, as I mentioned last week, to how people are perceiving us. A couple of the other notes that I wrote is that today isolation and reflection is needed. If you can't find comfort in being alone, why is that? And I said this a lot, and it was crazy because I actually had an ex-boyfriend of mine, and I remember his mom was like always going out and all over the place, and like worked a really high pressure job, and it was like she just never wanted to be home. Come to find out, she, was ending up like for different. I don't agree with her cheating, but I understand like why she wanted to leave. Her ex-husband. I don't know what ended up happening in that relationship, if they officially got divorced or what, but essentially I was like, why is it that like you can't sit with yourself, or why is being home, being a little bit, of having a restful moment so challenging? And what I noticed and started to notice even in my professional life is that the people who are running and going so much are one of two things: either people who have dealt with a tremendous amount of loss, and they know that like we never know when our last day on earth is going to be, so there's like that kind of nervousness, or just like a healthy appreciation of life, although rest should definitely be incorporated in with like appreciating the physical vessel that we have. It's that, or it's what I have been mentioning earlier about like people having trouble sitting with themselves because they're not willing to confront the things that need to be confronted, and they're not willing to sit with themselves long enough to say, I don't want to be home because I'm unhappy in my relationship, but I'm just comfortable enough to not do anything about it. Or I'm going to wait because it's the holidays, or I'm going to wait because I don't want to get divorced because I don't want to have to go back to work. But those discomforts, that inability to confront where you're at, really does bleed over into your relationships. And now, if you're not in this position, right, and you are somebody who does deal with the things that are heavy, you're just going to notice that isolating and retreating and being a little bit more introverted today is going to be more helpful for you, because you're going to be feeling the anxiety of people who are unwilling to sit with themselves or unwilling to go there because they're heightened emotionally, their energy is hemorrhaging out in the wrong areas, and you don't need to be about that life, is that if that's not for you, or if you're not in a position where you feel like you want to be responsible for helping people go through that. And especially like speaking from experience, I had a friend of mine that ended up getting divorced, and then because of that, and I was around for that, you end up becoming the villain in their story because they're like, you made me confront what I didn't want to confront. And sorry, but I'm not going to listen to how much you're miserable in your relationship. I'm not the type of friend for that. I'm the type of friend that's like, if you want to make change, let's make the changes. We'll see you through it and help you come up with a plan of attack. So, knowing your bandwidth, if you don't want to get in the messy middle, which I don't recommend, allowing yourself to move forward in that way is going to be really important for this Thursday, because Thursday's Jupiter day, abundance and expansion. It already is going to feel inflated. Emotions are going to feel inflated. So, don't involve yourself any more than you absolutely have to, if you have to at all. Which leads us into Friday, which I love. It's Venus Day, planet of values and personal values. And this also is kind of riffing off of personal space and like just allowing yourself to have fun on a Friday. Fridays are always my favorite day of the week because you finally feel like that kind of like levity and lightness. I recommend looking at what your Venus sign is so that you can kind of tune into what makes you feel nourished and excited. I'm a Pisces Venus, for example, so I like a lot of creativity and rest and spas and romanticism and going out to dinner. That's like a big thing, and the way that I like to be able to indulge in a little bit of self-care. So paying attention to what your Venus sign is telling you is going to be important, so you know what you appreciate, what is going to be causing a little bit more rest for you, or restoration, what feels a little bit more restorative based on your Venus sign, can be really helpful to just get your to know yourself in a little bit more of an intimate level. What also helps makes you feel motivated and excited to be able to treat yourself in a way that feels actually exciting and nourishing and restorative. Also helpful to look at your Venus sign and your Mars sign for that, but your Venus sign especially. So what's also interesting, because what's going to be coming up today, is like using those dinners or those moments of self-care to really understand like, what does a legacy look like to you? What does a legacy mean that you want your name to be in lights on a big stage? Does legacy just mean that you want to know that like it ran in your family until it ran into you in terms of trauma? What does that actually look like as you're pivoting into the week ahead, and the weekend ahead, going into next week, to kind of pre-plan for that, where every day really runs into the next of the weekend until we get to Monday again, hence us being here again on a Sunday. but that's where, you really want to be looking at, like, does legacy mean that I do feel like I want a level of fame and recognition? What does fame and recognition look like? Do you want to be like A-list celebrity, or is it okay to be like a micro influencer? Do you want your legacy to just be really tied to how you treat and show up for your family? Those are important things to kind of consider for your placements. And especially for this Friday, what's happening with your inner landscape, and also encouraging a little bit more of that introversion today is also going to be really important for Saturday, as well, going into or riffing off of Friday into Saturday, Saturn day, which is all about discipline. Now, a couple of the notes that I wrote for Saturday is, what are you motivated to accomplish today, no matter the plans you said yes to? So what happens during a gate 5 transit, also if you have gate 15 in your natal chart, is that, or in your astrology, or your human design rather, which is also shows up in your astrology, Gemini, Cancer placements, you can say yes to things because you're really excited months prior. And then the day actually comes and you're like, ooh, I actually have something that I want to pivot to prioritize instead today. And it's a Saturday, the first Saturday of the holiday season, or December at least, second month into the holiday season, really. This is a day where you're going to be like, no, I actually feel really passionate about doing this instead, and allow yourself to pivot. You may still keep your plans that you had previously made, but you may get that like 3 a.m. thought where you're like, oh my gosh, like I need to go and start to pursue this thing, or start a new routine, or I want to reorganize my closet, or I have this new idea for a fashion that I want, design that I want to do, whatever it is, go for that, whatever that aha moment or that change in plans is, because most people are going to be feeling this way. So other people are not going to be immune. They're not going to be worried or concerned or overly upset, because usually you being the one that's saying like, hey, can we reschedule? They're like, oh my God, thank God, because I actually wanted to do something else too. We're all on the same boat. Which brings me into Sunday, December 7th. Be aware of the words that you speak, especially when it comes to your abundance mindset. How much money and resources do you actually need to feel satisfied? I have this question so many times when I mentor people, especially when I'm helping them make money doing what they actually love, from one entrepreneur to another. And what they realize is that they say that they want to be the first millionaire in their family, their first multimillionaire, but they don't realize that even just making their first 50,000, 100,000, doing what they love, allows themselves to free themselves or the burden of so much pressure, that they realize maybe it's not $1 million that'll make me happy, that could make you happy. There's no shame in that game, but maybe I only need to make a couple 100,000. And that relief of that, and knowing that I'm making that money doing something that I love, is actually so incredibly satisfying in a way that you didn't even expect. So just adding that into understanding that your nervous system is going to regulate and up level and expand, for the first $10 making money doing what you love, it's building upon that foundation to trust yourself and build that trust with yourself, that you've got you at the end of the day to be able to consistently make money doing what you love. That's a big theme for today. um it's like winning the lottery. If you're, people who win the lottery, they don't have that trust with themselves, they don't know how to spend their money appropriately, so then they end up, spending it and wasting it all. Watching out for rumination and obsessive thoughts. Are you bored, or where are you understimulated? What's something on this beautiful sun-ruled day that you can allow yourself to go out to do without getting yourself in too much trouble, or feeling like, woe is me, is my life always going to be this way, am I always going to struggle? It's really all a matter of perspective, and really being aware of the things that you can control on a day like today. So what is it that you're watching on TV? Should you turn off the TV and just spend 15 minutes chipping away at your goal? This entire week is all about slow and steady races, winning or slow and steady pace, winning the race, so you can allow your nervous system to adjust to the expansion and abundance that you can call in, especially because we just had the new moon in Scorpio, when the full moon is in Scorpio in May. So the seeds that we're planting now, we're going to be enjoying the fruits of our labor 6 months from now under that full moon in May, and paying attention to that. So I hope you guys enjoyed for the week ahead and feel nice and prepared, and that you are able to enjoy and feel grounded in the week ahead. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for subscribing, and I appreciate you guys supporting me and supporting you. I will see you next week.